What do you guys think what is your immediate reaction to hearing about the levels of debt facing regular people? And I want to start with you, Lucas, and then I want to throw it out to the rest of the panel.
All right. Well, basically, I think, looking at the sort of mounting levels of debt that American families have taken on in the last 30 or so years, it's sort of the most popular chart on the Young Turks that Cenk always likes to come back to, but is the growth in productivity and basically the stagnation of middle-class wages. And that is the essential story behind why American families have loaded up on so much debt. We have wanted to basically continue our lifestyle and all the comforts that affords, but we are continually kind of falling behind in the real wages that we're actually making. So to supplement that, we wind up turning to debt. And this has also been, kind of orchestrated as well by the Federal Reserve, other government agencies, by keeping interest rates very low so that it's very easy to lend money. We've kept a lot of liquidity in the economy for decades, but ultimately that is not actual, wage gains, not actual asset gains for the middle class. So, if you look at where the actual earnings for what's been generated have gone, it should be no surprise that you see that families have basically had to take on all of this debt to kind of fill that hole, I guess.
Well, credit cards first came about in the 1950s, right? And that was the time period in which supermarkets started coming into there were never any supermarkets before the 1950s. We were in an economic rise after the Great Depression, and somebody got this great idea of let's create a card where you can spend money that you don't have and then owe it later and in interest. And ever since then, our country has just skyrocketed in the number of people who are in debt. And my family was one of them. It was my family serves as an example. I'm not in credit card debt, but almost every other family member that I have has been strangled by not only student loans but credit card debt as well. And because of that, it's just, it's a day-to-day. It's always been a day-to-day, week-to-week. Can we survive? Can we eat? Can we pay the rent? But for us, it wasn't about maintaining a particular lifestyle, except basic survival. It creates, the system creates an environment where if you need something in an emergency, the only option you have is credit card debt. Since wages have been stagnant, obviously what you said, over 50% of American people can't save any money for emergencies. When someone offers you a credit card in the mail, most people are going to take it because that's a way to have emergency funds. But then you owe that money and it just creates a vicious cycle that you can't get out of. It's endless. It's absolutely endless, which is why I don't have a credit card and refuse to ever get one.
Well, it's pretty smart. And I just want to say I completely agree with that, and I didn't mean to say in any way that people are taking on debt to afford lifestyles that they shouldn't actually be having. Absolutely what you're saying. Literally just to afford kind of the basics of getting by.
Oh yeah, but I know what you're saying. Some people do,
certainly some people do. But I meant it more in the context of people are having to do this as a fact of life, just to kind of to live basically.
Right, and there are a lot of people that legitimately have a modest middle income lifestyle, but something happens, they get injured, they get sick, they get in a car crash and they need a new car, or car repairs, they lose their job. Something like that happens and that tumbles you right off a cliff.
Now, I wanted to point out that the three examples that you just gave are medical related. And that's a very important point to kind of point out, because a lot of our debt, 60% of bankruptcies, in America come from medical debt. And medical debt, it's very hard to, it's very, very expensive and very easy to rack up.
So not only does it eat up a sixth of our economy and twice as much of our GDP as most other developed countries, in addition to that, it's also burdening us with excessive levels of debt as well. All the more reason to fix that system. Well, and one other thing you were saying, Rhi, as far as getting stuck in kind of, if there's an emergency or something, getting stuck in this cycle of debt. I think that's something as well, is that in some ways the ideal kind of situation for especially these short-term lenders, kind of payday lenders, to get you into is one where you are never free of the debt, where you're always needing to borrow some more money to cover the last payments that you made, because essentially what they've then done with you is they've, through one sort of, one decision that you kind of make, you have agreed to then be taxed essentially, indefinitely. They put you into this system where you are, taking a certain percentage of your paycheck and it just goes to them every month. And that's really, if it was up to them, they'd love to have everybody kind of in that situation.